Hello and welcome to another Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the film The Order, directed by Kerzel. So this is a true story set in 1980s United States, and it's about a radical white supremacist group. The film's about domestic terrorism and white supremacist ideologies. And I think it's interesting because it does reflect some of today's societal issues, so it has a resonance today. Let me say first that I very much enjoyed this film. It's very solid. At the same time, I have mixed feelings about it. The problem is it doesn't know what it wants to be, whether it's an art house movie or a mainstream movie. It's being distributed like an art house movie. It's not being screened at that many cinemas, but I'm not sure that it actually is an art house movie. In some ways, it is as solid as a mainstream movie, and it sits in between in a way that didn't really work for me. Kerzel is known for kind of dark, intense films. He is perhaps an auteur. He makes art house movies. He has a bold visual style. His films have psychological depth and uncompromising narratives. But he has ventured into the mainstream. He made Assassin's Creed after all, and this makes him an interesting filmmaker. Perhaps this film intentionally sits between an art house movie and conventional thriller, and perhaps this is a space he's interested in exploring. Despite the dark themes, The Order is like a traditional crime thriller. It's got high stakes heists. It's kind of law enforcement versus the criminal dynamic. It's got very big stars in it. The acting is fantastic. Jude Law plays Husk, the FBI agent. He's a grizzled and scarred agent. It's an exceptional performance. Nicholas Hoult is the bad guy. He comes across as really trustworthy and charismatic, yet there is always a threat. He has an innocent charm, a bit like a young Tom Cruise. He was a really chilling character, all fantastic. I love the scenes where Husk and Matthews meet. They meet face to face during a robbery, and then they actually have a conversation on a hunting trip. It's one of those conversations that's friendly on the surface, but there's a lot of tension underneath. It's different, but it did feel as good as the great De Niro-Pacino meeting in Heat. Talking of Heat, the action sequences in The Order are great, but they do just a little bit lack the intensity and sophistication of the action scenes in Heat. I did wonder what Michael Mann would have done with this film. As I say, this could be intentional. He may have opted for a slightly more subdued approach than just a pure action film, focusing a bit less on the action and more on character development in the style of an art house movie. But I don't think that this film has the emotional or psychological depth to achieve this. Husk's character is independent and brooding. He's burdened, he's damaged by the weight of his career and its impact on his family. He retires to a small town, but he very easily gets embroiled in a new case. We don't really understand enough his motivations. Clearly he has personal demons. Clearly his family history is checkered, and the consequences of his uncompromising attitude in his job are clear. It is evident that he harbours delusions of finding some peace, of retrieving his family, of repairing the damage in his personal life. You could argue that the ambiguity surrounding Husk's character is deliberate, and the closing shot is very ambiguous, which fits into this approach. But I don't think that there is enough psychological depth. It would be good to know more about the emotional background for it to really be an art house movie. So I think that this is principally an action movie. So taking it as an action movie, I think that there are some problems. The narrative suffers from having several flaws. People tend to be just in the right place at the right time. There's no explanation. For example, the discovery of the deceased body in the woods seems really improbable how easy they find it. For me, a good crime thriller action movie has the procedural elements matter. The build-up of the story is part of the enjoyment, and The Order fell a bit short on this. It's a really well-made film, and Jude Law is outstanding, but the film just falls short of being great. I really enjoyed it, but it does lack the depth and substance that would truly elevate it to the status of a great action movie. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.